Warning, the following program has been rated T for truth.
You can't handle the truth.
Oh, we think you can. Welcome to the Naked Truth Report with your host, truth warrior and mythbuster Kathleen Wells. The place where we distinguish fact from fiction, where data is used to drive points home, and where Kathleen takes the position that Democrats and black politicians have destroyed black America. Welcome to the Naked Truth Report. Now, your host, Kathleen Wells.
Welcome, Truth Warriors, Mythbusters. Hey, it's going to be a great show. I have a guest, and we're so delighted to have this guest. This is our third Sunday on the fraud that has taken place in our elections, and my guest is the perfect person to have to this Sunday to talk about it. America is the land of the free and home of the brave. Is that right? And my guest, Patrick Byrne, epitomizes that freedom and courage and bravery. Right, Patrick?
Oh, yeah, I think you're being overly generous to me, Kathleen, but if you say it, who am I to disagree?
Well, isn't today your birthday? Am I right?
My gosh, you do your homework. Yes, it is. I turned 58.
Happy birthday.
Well, thank you. As Indiana Jones said, it's not the years, it's the miles.
Yes, and your miles have been quite interesting, actually. I know this is not your first foray into uncovering corruption and fraud, but I know your time is limited because you want to celebrate your birthday, so let's get right to it. You said that the election has been rigged. It's 100% certainty that the election was rigged. Talk to us about it. Yeah, talk to us about it.
Well, it was rigged very strategically. Somebody understood that to steal the national election, you don't have to have widespread voter fraud in the sense of in every state. You need to steal 6 states, and you can steal those 6 states by stealing 6 counties. But if you steal the Jesus out of those 6 counties and pad the vote and ballot stuff in those 6 counties, you can flip those states and thereafter, and by that, flip the Electoral College and take the nation. So it really comes down to stealing 6 counties. And in those 6 counties, they stole like crazy. And those counties are the counties that Atlanta is located in, Philly, Detroit, Milwaukee, and then Maricopa, which is Greater Arizona, Greater Phoenix, and Clark, which is Greater Vegas, and Greater Las Vegas. So they set up a complete goon operation to steal those 6 counties. And if you go back to the night of the election, you'll see those are the 6 places where this really crazy stuff happened, from them shutting down the voting, from them sending muscle up to shove around the Republican poll watchers, to them putting up cardboard over windows, to those are the places where they shut down the precincts and told everyone that we're stopping voting, and then the records were stopping the counting. And then in the middle of the night, they opened up for 90 minutes and imported 300,000 votes from somewhere, and the machines couldn't even process 300,000 votes in that time. And suddenly, and they're all 99.4% for Biden. So that's how it was done. They did. It's not everywhere across the country, but they went what I call full goon in 6 counties, and that 6 counties are going to steal the national election.
And they've been dominionizing our votes. So I didn't mention that Patrick Byrne is the founder and former CEO of Overstock.com. He has talked about Wall Street and their corruption dealing with short sales. And now he has hired a full team of cybersecurity experts. And you've been working with this dominionizing of our votes since you and your team since 2018, since talk to us about that.
Yeah, well, some of them have been on since 2018. I would say, rather than seeing me as the leader of a team, which I'm not, think of it as the Bad News Bears, kind of a Bad News Bears assemblage of cybersecurity companies and outside white hat hackers and investigators of different types and concerned citizens. The digital, and so that's who I've been funding and helping coalesce. But one of the groups involved is a very professional cyber security group that in 2018 there was an election in Dallas that had irregularities, and the state government of Texas hired this cybersecurity group to focus on Dallas and what had happened. And so they had, and it was Dominion Machines. And that group had there was actually a blue ribbon governor's panel, and then that panel hired this group. And that group, so they had 2 years to study what you've had 2 weeks to get your mind around America. And what that is that these are incredibly fragile, weak security systems. They found at least 12 different ways you can hack something on Dominion Machines. Starting with physical access, where their motherboards have open slots that anyone who can physically access the machine can drop a certain chip into that slot and thereafter compromise the machine forever. To they're widely infected with a malware that steals their credentials. So so somebody sitting back in China can actually log on the machine and do things. There's all kinds of privileges given to the administrators of machines that go well beyond what an administrator of a precinct and election should be able to do. Now, I can understand why they have the kind of functionality they have is also, these machines are also used to run corporate elections and different kinds of elections. And you can understand why the machines might have functionality XYZ to support a corporate election where there are, say, different classes of stock that have different weights in voting. But in a democracy, as people vote, votes should all be one. And, nobody has a vote to the count of 1.5 or something. But they have ways of setting these machines, and they did set these machines in order to do that. They unweight some votes. There's all kinds of crookedness in these systems, and the people who are saying otherwise are talking through their hats. I've been working for 4 months now with these very professional, ethical hackers and cybersecurity people, and I asked them, how do you rate this now? As a difficulty 1 to 10 to hack, and they say 2, maybe a 1. Mm-hmm. And now that I understand it this fully, I would go along with that. These are an 8th grader could hack this stuff, and there's plenty of pictures on YouTube, movies on YouTube of people in 7 minutes, doing the kinds of things I'm saying. So if you've been told that these systems are secure, they are not insecure. And then in addition, not only the insecure, but a well-organized effort was carried out on November 3rd, and they use those insecurities to cheat massively in 6 counties. And those 6 counties flip those states, flip the electoral college, and flip the election. And I'll add, I say this not as a Trump voter. I did not vote for Mr. Trump. I'm a small L libertarian, and I just vote libertarian. So I've never voted Democrat or Republican for president. I'm coming at this purely from, I'm in love with the Constitution. The Constitution is my religion. And this can't stand as it is. This was completely hacked. This was rigged, this election.
Right. And in fact, Krebs with the Department of Homeland Security said this was the most secure election ever. So he's lying.
Yeah, he's full of it.
Yeah.
He's a lawyer from Microsoft. And in my experience, lawyers can be wonderful people, but they often have what I would call a top shooter's understanding of issues. And he's either a top shooter or he's in on it. But no, it's ridiculous to say. I mean, the people I'm working with will laugh and laugh. Just from the point of view, you can walk up, anyone with the right machine can just, if you have physical access to the machines, you can walk in and plug in your keyboard and your monitor essentially, and drive the machine and load on it anything you want to load on it. There's no secure. If you can physically access the machine, you can in 30 seconds you can hack it. So it's just silly for them to be saying that.
Yeah, and you're supplying this information from your cyber experts to Sidney Powell and also Trump's legal team. Is that correct?
Well, I'd say I want to be clear. I don't work for them or anything like that. There's no formal arrangement, but we have been gathering this evidence and trying to pipe it to anyone who will listen, and that includes the mainstream press. And the mainstream press turned a deaf ear, but but there are people around the president who had quite open ears about it. And when we got, when they understood that when we're not talking about 243 dead people in Philadelphia voting, we're talking about maybe 300 to 600,000 fake votes in Pennsylvania is what we're talking about. Their eyes got big. And so, you can be sure that everything we are discovering and digging is getting piped to those people, but they have other sources of information and they have other narratives they're also running down. But we are deeply immersed and have been since the day after the election in gathering affidavits, gathering grassroots. All kinds of people from the grassroots have been helping, and everything that gets fed us has been fed into from the beginning into the hands of Sidney Powell and Mayor Giuliani. And they're, I've said that I think people have way overread the fact that they're taking separate courses. It's different approaches to what's going on, but I support both approaches, and our data support says that both approaches are correct.
Yeah, and I was just listening to an interview that General Flynn gave yesterday, and also retired Lieutenant General McInerney, and this is deeper and broader and more badder than we actually realize, because it seems to be that the servers that were seized in Germany for Dominion in Frankfurt, Germany, is on a CIA server farm. Now, us truth warriors here believe in that. Yes, we believe that the CIA is involved with the deep state because we read Michael Calder's book, JFK versus the CIA. So do you have any insight into that? Seizing of the server in Germany?
Well, I can tell you this. If you go back, and this is in the public domain, if you go back a little over a decade, you'll see that there was and this is in the public domain, you'll see that in Frankfurt, Germany, there was a operation that was focused against Russian hacking. And that operation later moved to Baltimore, and it became the Silk Road Task Force. And it spawned a couple crooks, a couple federal agents who stole Bitcoin and are serving prison times. That original Frankfurt group also was operating under the authority, I understand, of Rosenstein. This was years ago. But so there is a long-held connection. FBI, CIA, they had a task force back in Frankfurt over a decade ago, and that's known and in the public domain. So it does not surprise me, although I don't know if the CIA is involved in this. It may not be as simple as that, and I don't want to comment or impugn anybody. So let's not jump to who are the real graybeards behind this all, or the Eminence Grise behind this all, because I don't know them yet. I don't want to speculate on anything like that. So that's probably the best answer. However, I can say that it's in the public domain, that there was once an operation. Frankfurt played a very, very important role, if you look back into the Silk Road Task Force. Google that and Frankfurt, Germany, and you'll see that there's been some activities there in the past. And now the question of who got those servers has it been confirmed that the good guys got them? Because there was a concern that some bad guys intercepted them. Has Flynn and who's McInerney?
Yeah, McInerney. They say they said that was an interview, I think today or yesterday, that the good guys have the servers. Yeah, special forces.
I'd love to. That's great.
I can send you that interview. I'll send it to Regis.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
So they've been Dominion.
That's good news, because that'll clear a lot of this up. But actually, I'm not even sure. To me, that's not the. I mean, it is interesting. This stuff is all being shipped over there, overseas. But really, that might be where manipulation is occurring. But we have uncovered mountains and mountains of manipulation occurring right at this retail level, and very clever ways they did it. I've been saying publicly, I'll tell your viewers something now that I've not yet said publicly, that I've been telling this story about it being 6 counties. But what we've also realized is there were other strategies where they went to heavily Republican counties. They took blue counties that were already blue and they made them bluer. And then they also went to heavily Republican counties and they stole votes, but not enough votes to tip things, because it would alert people. If you had a 60%, if they had expected 62% Republican, and it came out the Democrats won in that county, everyone would say that there was something too fishy about that. But they might change it from the Republicans winning 62% or to 58%, or Trump winning 62% to 58%, because that still looks like, it was a big Republic. They're shaving off. So they were shaving out of heavily Republican counties. They were cheating there. And there's one state in particular. We have this, actually two states. We know this for a fact. This is what they did. I don't. I mean, we have the hard. We have. There's no question. We're examining physical evidence of these things, and
you're able to discern this by reverse engineering it, or is that how that's done?
There's different ways of it. Some of it in this reverse engineering, I'd say, refers to the whole process. We've taken the end product, and we are taking the end product, and we figured out how they did it. We sort of picked it apart. Reverse engineering is what, we would say the Chinese do. When we invent a new gadget here, they get a copy of it, they take it apart and see how it was built, and then they built their own. That's reverse engineering. This group studied the Dallas election of 2018 for 2 years and reverse engineered it. They teased it apart and figured out all the different ways you could cheat these systems. And the truth is, we're seeing evidence of those different ways in what just happened.
Oh, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, what was that last thing you just said? You're seeing evidence of how this happened?
Yeah, that we knew beforehand, okay, this is how they're going to cheat, and then...
Oh, I see, yeah.
It's just what we expected.
Yeah, so it was anticipated because you've been examining or analyzing this stuff since 2018 for the folks in Dallas, Texas. So what do we have? Let's see. General Flynn was saying that the momentum is shifting because of Sidney Powell's lawsuit filed the eve of Thanksgiving in Pennsylvania in the federal district court. What do you anticipate legally will happen?
Well, I think ultimately this has to be, that has to be addressed on the federal level. First of all, the states, this is way beyond something that the state courts are heavily politicized. This has to go to the Supreme Court for anyone to accept it. And I think the probable remedy is revote. And if an election has 243 dead people vote, and you can go and you can pull those names out and you can see what the score would have been. But when an election is as completely scrambled as this is, I think the only thing to do is they have to revote.
I don't know. Is that something that they allow in the Constitution? The presidential election must take place on November 3rd. That's in the Constitution,
right.
If I'm not mistaken.
Well, they say the first Monday, Tuesday in November. So, I think the Supreme Court could order certain states, the places where there had been this complete craziness, revote. However, the Constitution does have a provision for that as well that says, and this happened once in 1876, the Rutherford B. Hayes ran against a guy, I think his name was Tilden, and Tilden actually won, but there were 3 states whose elections had been so corrupt, there was no way after the fact to unscramble what had really happened, and so the whole thing got kicked to the House. And that had showed a lot of our forefathers knew there was corruption and knew there was election corruption, and so they created a provision that said if something becomes a complete meltdown like this really is, that this is what they did is just it's goon behavior, and sending people to muscle folks around in voting booths and such is shocking behavior. So if the Supreme Court lets this stand, they're painting a kick-me sign on the back of election law. Because at no point will it be possible to enforce election law, because there'll be a precedent that says, if they want to, election officials can just change the rules
Right.
in defiance of what the state legislature says.
Right.
And they can kick observers out of election booths and precincts and such, and there's no repercussions. And look at what they did to Alito. Alito told them, you've got to, I think he should have enjoined them.
Right.
He should have enjoined them from accepting late ballots. He didn't. He said, you can, but just keep them separate and we'll handle the issue later. And they accepted them, and then they did not keep them separate. So there's no way to unscramble them. So they essentially just stuck a finger in the eye of a Supreme Court justice. They violated an order, an injunction from a Supreme Court justice. If they let that stand, then, geez, there's a whole lot of the rest of us who are spending way too much time and energy trying to follow the law.
Exactly.
And maybe we shouldn't, because some people don't seem to have to follow the law, to follow what judges say. So why am I spending so much time and energy worrying about it?
Right. That's why I think it has to be deeper than we realize, because for them to just flaunt the law like that in our face, and then the media to just ignore it like nothing has taken place, and anyone who brings up this idea of fraud is a lunatic to the media. That's why I think it has to be something deeper, like CIA related or something like that, because it's just going against the grain completely. We don't have a country if they're not recognizing the law. You have no country. You have
no republic.
Yeah.
Republics are, you got a rule of law is an important thing.
Yes.
And it's not the country. And I don't think every conspiracy theory in the world, people jump to the CIA. I don't know who. I'm not going to say that.
Okay.
And I've seen no evidence of that I'm going to discuss here anyway.
Right.
And no, I'm kidding. But what we have is it is no doubt in my mind that the election was stolen in a coordinated, strategic way, and there is an entity behind it. There is an entity behind it.
Well, you say, you would say the deep state, right?
Yeah, you'd say the deep state.
Yeah.
That's the deep state. The deep state. There's a lot of things riding on stealing this, and what happened. I mean, everything, the whole plan, decades in the making, rides on them stealing this, and that's why they went on. Well, and the other thing that happened is Trump broke their algorithm. There's ways that basically there are dials in the machine, so to speak, that they can turn that shift votes and change votes, but what he won by a margin bigger than their ability to cheat that way. And because he did, they had to go, that's why they had to go full goon and do things like shut down voting booths and kick people out and pull in 600,000 ballots out of nowhere and run them through the machines and just say, the hell with you, that's what we did.
Oh, there's my music, Patrick. When we come back, I know you have a little more time. I know you're in a hurry. It's your birthday. It's a special day. But if you have a few more minutes, you can end it out. Okay, let's take a break. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back. We're speaking with Patrick Byrne, who is the founder and former CEO of Overstock. He epitomizes the land of the free and the home of the brave. So join us. This is the Naked Truth Report. I'm your host, Kathleen Wells, and we'll be right back. Welcome, Naked Truth Truth Warrior. Sorry, I was tongue-tied there. Anyway, my guest is Patrick Byrne, and he is the founder and former CEO of Overstock, and he has hired a team of cybersecurity guys that know how to ethically hack. Is that an oxymoron? I don't know. Ethically hack. They've been working with Dominion computer machines since 2018, looking at the system and seeing how it works. In fact, one of the allegations in Sidney Powell's complaint that she filed last week with the federal district court in Pennsylvania is that with the Dominion machines, one can actually alter the ballot. Is that correct, Patrick?
Yeah, you can actually physically, these machines turn out to be not just readers, they actually have printers inside, and they can actually print. And in fact, they have a library of codes. When they print and fill in a circle, they don't fill it in perfectly like a machine. They have marks that go on that look like human marks, that look like a hand did them. They have that they advertise that. That's in their library of marks they can, and within the machine, is they can have marks that make it look like a human did it. So once things have run through machines that have been compromised, you have no idea what was there. You have no idea what was there. This, I hate to sound so discouraged, but this is the fact that this even got certified and is being used is itself. There's got to be a corrupt story behind that. That this is all got signed off on along the way. Anyone with any understanding of cybersecurity would never sign off on these. Yeah, the guy who's saying this is the most secure election in history, I don't know if he's a con man or what, but it's ridiculous.
Yeah, well, the Epoch Times did a summary of the allegations contained in Sidney Powell's complaint that she filed last week. And one of the allegations is that they certified them. Their certification is undated, for one. And for two, they were certified before they even examined the business machines. In fact, they updated them subsequent to certifying these undated.
That's correct. And they're broken in a number of ways. One is the way certification is supposed to work, and since it's in her complaint, I can talk about it. What it's supposed to work is there's a group that sets a federal group called NIST, National Institute of Science and Technology, or Standards and something or other. And then there's another federal group called the Election Assistance Commission. And the Election Assistance Commission is to locate private laboratories and certify them as capable of examining states' election machinery and signing off on it. So it's private laboratories who go, that the states hire to come in. Well, the certification, there's really only two, as far as we can tell, there seem to be two private laboratories in the country who do that certification. And they have some interesting ties themselves. And it's not clear, actually it looks clear to me, that one of them, their certification that gives them the power to certify other people's machines, that their certification lapsed in 2017. Which if they did that, it means that the elections of 2018 and 2020 were largely held on machines that were not certified, because the certifying laboratory is itself not certified to do it anymore, at least according to public documents. Now, there may be some private documents that no one ever put online, but it looks like the last time they got certified was 2015, and it lapsed in March of 2017. So it could be that somewhere between 20 and 50% of the machines that the whole country used were actually running on machines that their certification had broken, had a broken chain. Now, that's before you even get to the issue of there's laws governing around. You can't be in there right before an election updating the machinery. It's got to be examined, and it's frozen and such. And they violated that. There were people uploading new software, a night or two before the election. And that's been documented in Georgia and other places. They were uploading new software a night or two. It's like a federal crime. You can't, and there was somebody being told that has given an affidavit saying they were being told to certify as if it was election day, but it was actually, I think, 2 days before election day.
Right.
And then even in those 2 days, they didn't even have the machines. Someone else had them, could do what they wanted. So even if they had been doing, the election officials had been doing what they were supposed to, the chain of certification all the way back to the private laboratories is broken, and it looks like some of these guys weren't doing what they were supposed to. They were up to no good and doing things like what we just discussed. So pardon me for being, this is violent, graphic language. It's just such. Well, I shouldn't say on a radio show, but it's an egg that can't be unscrambled. There's no way to unscramble things that we're uncovering, like the significant portions of the machines used across the country may well have been outside their certification date. And then even ones that were, they installed software at the very end in violation of the law. They uploaded and patched new software in a way that violated their certification. And we also know that these things are filled with a type of malware called QSnatch. And if you go to ZDNet, which is a technology journal from last July, there was an article how 66,000 Dominion machines are infected with Q-Snatch. Q-Snatch lets people steal the administrator's credentials and send them off to the Ukraine or to China, and so someone in China can be logging on to a machine that's in Maricopa County, Arizona, fiddling with votes. And in addition, on top of all of that, that all assumes even the administrators in the U.S. are honest, but it turns out that the administrators in the U.S. are given powers way beyond what you would think a precinct administrator. They can move votes around and shift votes and erase votes and print new ballots and all kinds of things that are, well, again, you could imagine someone running a corporate election might want to have that functionality, but there's no way that somebody running a political election in states which are already prone to, there's so much corruption involved in election matters that you would want an administrator to have the kind of powers that a corporate secretary would have to send them. So it's really just a terrible.
Horrific. And all these allegations and more are contained in Sidney Powell's complaint filed with the federal court. And also Matt Brainard, who is with the Voter Integrity Project, just tweeted tonight that the FBI has contacted him and wants all his documentation. So that's a good thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good thing. So finally they're getting involved because President Trump, in his interview this morning with Maria Bartiromo, said that the FBI and the CIA, or rather the Department of Justice, are missing in action, so to speak. And he doesn't know what's going on. So the FBI have contacted the Voter Integrity Project. So that's a good thing, right?
Well, it's a good thing that they have, but it could just be, I've always been a big fan of the FBI all my life, even though I think that they've let me and us down in different ways, but I've always been their cheerleader. But I'm a little disappointed. There's somebody I'm not a fan of, and that's the SEC. I think that they're really corrupt. And I'm quite surprised to see, my experience with the FBI, even adversarially, was always sort of white-shirted professionals, the kind of people who make you proud to be an American. And I don't know what the heck is going on over there. I really don't. Because it's crazy. The last 4 years it'd be crazy. But yeah, they're not, I'll put it this way. If they're out there doing something, we're out there sniffing down. We have all these grassroots people sniffing up and down a lot of trails. We sure aren't hearing or crossing their paths. So I didn't get the sense that they're out there trying to take any aggressive posture. But it's nice that after the president mentioned it in a national interview, that they decided it's time to start calling. So that's nice.
Yeah, that's nice. And also, I read that Jill Stein got a ruling in October last month that she can now she has access to the source code, because when she ran in 2016 on the Green Party ticket, she felt that some hanky-panky was going on. So she's going to have access to the source code now.
Yep, and that'll be nice. That's great. But you want to know, are you familiar with the whole Seth Rich controversy?
Yeah, the pizza, yeah. Well, him being, I heard some, I listen to Bill Still report. So he keeps us up to date on everything.
Yeah, well, I've listened to Still report. Good. He's good. He's
good. Yeah.
Well, Seth Rich, here's the official story, but it may tie into what we're seeing here. Seth Rich was a DNC worker, a Byrne supporter, and he got mad, and this is the publicly acknowledged stuff. He got mad because he felt that the DNC had cheated Byrne out of in the primary and giving it to Hillary. And then, according to one version of the story, he downloaded the DNC emails onto a thumb drive and sent them to WikiLeaks. According to the official narrative, that was done from Russia. However, I don't think it was done from Russia because just because the speed of the download shows that it could not have been done. It had to be somebody inside. Well, and then Seth Rich was killed, allegedly by a mugger. Well, maybe Seth Rich, and so that's the official narrative. And whether you believe, we know he was killed by the mugger, and we know he believed that Byrne had been cheated and given it to Hillary. Whether or not he downloaded the emails or that was Russia, we'll just set aside for a second. Just remember, he believed that she was cheated, and he got killed. Maybe he didn't get killed just because He downloaded the emails.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he knew. I mean, the thing was, he had known that that the DNC had somehow cheated Bernie and given it to Hillary. Maybe what he knew. Oh, and by the way, the area of the DNC he worked in was the area of the DNC that dealt with the voting systems and primaries. You got to verify that before you quote me on that. But someone should go look that up. And look at where Seth Rich worked within the DNC. He had something to do. He would have been in the position to, and I'm blocking on the title, but as I recall, if you dig into that, you'll find that he worked in the part of the DNC that if this equipment was being used to rig the election for Hillary against Bernie, he would have known it in the position he was in. And what do you know? He went out saying that it was rigged. This is maybe how they rigged it. And that would have been something worth killing them for, because if there was a guy who in 2016 knew that these Dominion machines could be used to do Dominion and ESNS machines could be used to do this kind of stuff, then that would have been a dangerous person to have running on the streets. Somebody with that knowledge.
Well, yeah, they knew it was they've been dominionizing our machines for years, right?
Yeah.
For quite a few elections. Yeah.
The real problem is they were invented in Venezuela. I mean, the scientists came from Venezuela. This is really a Venezuelan project. They came from Venezuela, and when you hear Venezuela, the real chain of command is China, Iran, Venezuela. When you hear Venezuela, even when they were first introducing these machines into the U.S., we have affidavits about how they had dozens of Venezuelans out there all over the U.S. pushing these systems and training people on it. It's very much, they do everything they can to make it look like a non-Venezuelan, but there's really a corporate, what there really is, and some lore needs to go back to this. You got to go back to Smartmatic, which really started in Venezuela, and then it came to the U.S. It shows up as a Florida company, but they play games like, one company called Smartmatic was formed in Venezuela, but we formed a whole new company in Florida called Smartmatic. So it's not really the case that this started in Venezuela. Well, that's a distinction without a difference. Come on, they're just playing word games. So Smartmatic turned into a company called Sequoia, and then somewhere between bankruptcies and licensing agreements and mergers and acquisitions and divestitures, that core functionality and software ended up in the heart of at least two of the major brands of commercial machines offered in the U.S., and those are Dominion and ESNS. The same software is inside them both, or software that has the same genetic lineage. So it really is Venezuelan systems. And why did Hugo Chavez wanted this? Because he wanted to rig his elections for life. And so he designed software where the precinct administrators would have the power to gain the vote. And so that might be where the vote is being gained. It might be back in the tabulation process, might be back in Spain, might be back in Germany. Maybe those are just warm standby operations. I don't know. But I know there's 12 different places where this stuff can be intercepted and gained and played with. And, it's going to take more than we could do without subpoenas and badges and guns in 3 weeks to really get to which of those were used. But what we can see where places where all the different, or a number of the different techniques were used. We have hard evidence. We have, a lot of poll workers, Republican and Democrats, have realized what they were used in, what they took part in, and they're horrified and they're being honest. Even Democrats are coming forward and contacting us and giving us all kinds of inside information and evidence.
Right, because it's beyond the pale. And there's actually an allegation by a sworn affidavit who said that he was a cousin of an executive of Smartmatic, and he was paid millions of dollars between 2003 and 2015 by the Venezuelan government to have Smartmatic software around the world, including the United States. That's an allegation contained in Sidney Powell's complaint.
Yeah, and that affidavit, and he's The fellow is a son of a. There's two affidavits like that. One of them is a fellow from the intelligence community, and one is something else. But from the Cuban intelligence or something. I mean, they're very powerful affidavits, very specific. They apply to everything I just told you, but they put real meat. It's on the skeleton I just told you.
Mm-hmm. And in fact, the Libertarian candidate had votes. Jorgensen had votes taken from him and given to Biden. And so Jill Stein lost some of her votes, and the Libertarian Johnson in 2016. This has been going on for years. We saw it right here in California during the midterm 2018 in Orange County, which is a traditionally Republican district, and in all 4 House seats, just like this election, at night, during Election Day, the Republican is winning, and you get up the next morning, and the Democrat has won all 4 seats. So California suffered dominionizing.
It's been going on. Well, remember in 2018 how in Orange County, how surprising some of the results were?
Yeah, that's what I was just talking about, Orange County.
Oh, I thought you were saying, I thought it was 2020 you were referring to.
Oh, no.
That happened. I think that this has been going on since 2012. It may be the case that Mitt Romney won 2012, and I do not say that I did not vote for Mitt Romney.
Right.
But it's if you look at 2012, there's the same basic pattern.
Exactly.
2016, it was going to happen, and somebody interfered with it, so it did not happen. Is what happened in 2016. That's what's so funny. Somebody else interfered with it, and it didn't happen. But Hillary was counting on it being happened, and Biden was counting on it happening this time, which is why Biden never had to. It doesn't seem funny. Look back just a few weeks. There's not, and again, I'm not saying this as a Trump supporter.
Right.
I did not vote for the man.
Right.
But there was in Arizona a caravan 96 miles long in favor of Trump. When Biden showed up, one of his first campaign rallies was in Arizona, and there were 9 people, and 6 of them were campaign workers showed up.
Right. And then also, Biden had that Freudian slip when he said, "We set up the biggest voter fraud organization going." That was a Freudian slip that he said. And I think, and today he just had a fracture in his leg playing with his dog, in his foot. That might be a precursor of things to come.
Yeah. Yeah, well, do you also remember how he, just on Thanksgiving, he gave the quadrennial president-elect Thanksgiving address, which he just made up. And they put him up, the media's doing everything they can to reinforce this. And so he does the Thanksgiving president-elect address, and 1,000 people were watching it.
Oh, right. And yet we're supposed to believe he got 80 million votes. It's strange credulity.
16 million more than Obama.
Right. Oh, it was a great, there's my music. It was great talking to you. I know you went longer. I hope I didn't keep you from your birthday celebrations, Patrick, but I want to wish you a happy birthday again. This is a great month. My birthday is in this month also. It's a great month to have a birthday.
Okay, well, thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Thank you, Patrick Byrne. So we were just speaking with Patrick Byrne, who's the founder and former CEO of Overstock. And he's hired a cybersecurity team to help to disclose or reveal the fraud that has taken place in our 2020 elections. We'll be back next week. We'll probably be talking about this again because I can't get enough of it. See you next week. And I hope you all had a happy Thanksgiving. Okay, bye.
To our success.